7 o'clock. We're going to call the meeting to order. Clerk, please call roll.
Jim Benage.
Here.
Jeff Elshoff.
Here.
Jeff Hawes.
Here.
Betty Martine.
Here.
Justin Smith.
Here.
We have a quorum, Mayor.
Thank you. We'll begin tonight's meeting like we do all of our meetings with a moment of silent prayer. If you'll join me in that. Amen. Now please rise and join us in the saying of the Pledge of Allegiance to the American flag. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Want to welcome everybody to our June 19th City Council meeting, everybody in the audience here tonight, and those watching at home, and also to those watching us on Facebook Live. This is the second time that we've done that, and I want to thank Tristan and our marketing department here to making sure that happens. We're looking for a way that that we could be in even more communication, better communication with the with our citizens, and so all of our meetings now are available live as they happen on Facebook Live, in addition to our Channel 7, and of course taped and available afterwards. First thing to come before council this evening is the consent agenda, which consists only of the minutes of the June 5th, 2018 City Council meeting.
Mr. Mayor, I motion that we approve the consent agenda as listed and authorize the mayor to sign.
Second.
First and second, do I have any questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Item 7 is Appropriations Ordinance 18-12. This is in the amount of $409,098.39.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I move to approve Appropriations Ordinance 18-12.
Second.
First and second, any questions or comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. It passes. Don't have any requested appearances. Move right along on to citizens' concerns. I have received 2 cards from 2 individuals who would like to address council this evening. So call your name if you'd come forward and come to the podium, and I ask you to keep your comments to about 3 minutes, but if you come give us your name and your address. And the first one I'm going to call on is Bill Cook.
Mr. Mayor, may I defer to Mr. Carr? Let him go. You guys have heard from me before on this.
Yeah, I also have a card from Bryce Carr too, so same thing?
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Not a problem.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Bryce Carr. I live at 4755 North Indian Oak. This is directly across from the 9 lots being discussed within executive committee session this evening. I had hoped to speak at the meeting on which that was on the agenda, but it's been deferred, and I was afraid I was going to miss that meeting, so I wanted to just register my concerns. Having served on a planning commission for 8 years, I fully understand the importance of master plans and zoning and neighborhood covenants. We took extra measures when we thought about building in Elk Creek to assure that the surrounding neighborhood conformed with what we believed it was going to develop. We confirmed that these lots were zoned single family and that the covenants were in place to assure that future developments would be of size and conformity with the neighborhood. It is of great concern to me as a homeowner that the city is proposing to make changes to the covenants that would diminish the size of the homes within our community, which impacts the value of our homes and the overall character of our neighborhood. While it's not reasonable for us to expect that those lots remain undeveloped, we believe it is unfair to change the rules governing the development of these lots after we have invested significantly in that community. Looking back on the history of this matter, most of which I think predates this council, there's a few things that emerge. First, the city, through unforeseen circumstances, elected to take back these lots, which effectively put it directly into the real estate development business. In hindsight, this probably shouldn't have been done. It's proven to be a valuable or an expensive lesson for the city, and real estate development should be left to the free market. When these lots were originally platted, the developer knew that the lots in question were tight, but nonetheless proceeded with the understanding of the associated restrictions. Then along came FEMA, and FEMA expanded the flood zone. Now, any homeowner understands that if they live near a stream or tributary, they understand that their property could be placed into a flood zone, which could force them to buy flood insurance. The fact that the city of Bel Aire owns these lots that have been placed within the flood zone does impact their marketability, but does not mean that the lots can't be developed. It just requires that some may need flood insurance. Essentially, the city has been impacted by another governmental agency outside of its control. This should not result in changes that adversely impact homeowners who have invested. As homeowners, and I speak for myself here, I'm not opposed to dividing those lots into two parts so that homes can be built outside of the flood zone. If, and I stress if, the resulting buildable lots can conform with the HOA covenants in place. We are adamantly opposed to restrictions regarding, or the city changing the restrictions regarding the minimum size homes, as we believe this will impact our neighborhood. In Ms. Kelly's response to Elk Creek homeowners, she states as follows, quote, "Though the engineering consultant confirmed that each lot could handle 1,850 plus square feet home without disturbing existing zoning and setback requirements, the city felt that these particular lots with unique configurations might need more leeway," unquote. This statement is especially disturbing to me. It implies that the city can change the rules to relieve them of previous errors. If the lots had been owned by a private owner, I would guess the city would not intervene in this matter. As a taxpayer, I do understand your desire to get these off the taxpayer rolls. There is no solution short of a compromise. Unfortunately, the city's idea of a compromise is that the surrounding neighborhood absorb the impact. That's not a compromise. I have a suggested compromise, and I'll tell you I don't have every fact to support this because I couldn't obtain it. There are 9 lots, and as I understand, 3 are buildable without changing anything, leaving 6 tight lots. As a compromise, the city should consider replatting the 6 affected lots to either 4 or 5 wider lots, which would allow any homes to be built to conform with the existing HOA standards. Yes, both sides lose a little something on this. As my former boss once said, no one is going to be completely happy with my decision, so my goal should be to make sure that everybody is equally unhappy. In this case, the city I believe needs to assume its share of unhappiness. In closing, all I ask is that City Council members put themselves in our place. How would each of you feel if you went to the effort to make sure you're protected against adverse future development, only that the city subsequently changed the rules? If the City of Bel Aire hopes to remain as an attractive place to build homes, it's essential that they maintain integrity by not changing the rules midstream. If they do, the word will quickly spread that the City of Bel Aire is not a safe place to build. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Anyone else wishing to address council this evening? Okay.
Good evening. Appreciate your service, honestly, because this is a challenging role that you guys have taken on. And before I forget, I do want to acknowledge the improvements in communication. You've referenced them at the beginning, Mayor Austin, and the ability to sign up and get emails or text messages and those things are very helpful. So appreciate that.
Mr. Cook, before you begin, I'm sorry, if you could say your name and
Sorry.
address. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm Bill Cook, live at 4618 North Elk Creek Drive, so part of the Elk Creek homeowners group. And I would like to acknowledge, I believe most of the people here tonight are part of the courtyards, and it's kind of an interesting situation where we're separate and yet our destinies are intertwined. So I think it's fantastic that so many of you have come out. And I also want to acknowledge that, since we had this on the agenda and I spoke before, it's been a respectful dialogue with the city that I think, and the Homeowners Association of Elk Creek, and so I appreciate that as well. It's obviously a challenging situation, so I think we need that dialogue. We need transparency about what the options are. I think that's very important as well. And one of the things I really appreciate Bryce Carr's comments and won't repeat any of that. But I do think a couple of things, from the Elk Creek view. We have, by my count, we've got about 70 lots. Just over 50% of them are built on at the moment, so 45% are vacant. The city owns 18 of those by my count as well, at least the data that I had. So in addition to the 9 lots that we're talking about here, there are another 9 lots. And so we all have an interest in those lots being built on and everybody paying taxes and homeowners association dues, because we're very limited in the amount of homeowners association dues, which does limit the options that the HOA has in coming up with a solution to this. The other thing I would say is, as we look at it, we do have a process within the HOA to consider exceptions to the 1850 square footage, which, as we talked with city staff about, we're certainly open to that process and looking at the selective exceptions where they make sense. I do also want to register concern about the zoning of those lots. I've never served on a planning commission, but if I remember my numbers right, the rest of the HOA is R3 zoned. Those lots got changed to R5B, is that right? That presents particular concerns that, from a homeowners association standpoint, our covenants are written to the R3 setbacks and requirements is the word, I think. And so even applying those covenants to R5B is something that we really have to think through, and that was behind our request that we see how the engineer was able to put the 1850 square foot homes on those lots and what that looked like with our R3 setbacks. So just a few things would ask you to kind of keep in your consideration. There is significant interest in this across the entire area. and look forward to continuing the dialogue. Thank you.
Is there anyone else in the audience wishing to address council this evening? If not, I'm going to move us on to reports, and we're going to start with council members, and we'll start with Councilmember Elsoff.
I have no report, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Mayor, I also have no report.
Move on down.
Well, I have a couple of things. People that go to the free brush site, when your brush and limbs blow out of your truck, please stop and pick them up. Otherwise, I'm gonna stack them up in your front yard, because I'm tired of picking your trash up. Vacation watches, vacations are coming up, and we do have a senior patrol that goes around and checks your houses. So call the police department or come into the police department, or you can fill it out, I believe online, correct, Mr. Asher?
Yes.
You have, the senior patrol will come by your house. They don't just drive by, they come out and they get out of the vehicle, they go up and check your house, and you have a person that you can put on there to call, and they call them. The reason I know this so much is a friend of mine is in Washington State, and I've been called 3 times. She's got packages on her front porch, and they hide them, but they tell me where they're at so I can go pick them up. So anybody that's going on vacation, be sure and call and get the vacation watch filled out. And you can do that also online. And that's all I have, Mayor.
Councilmember Benaj.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you. I attended the WAMPO meeting, Wichita Area Metropolitan Planning Organization meeting last Tuesday. One item that came up in the meeting was, if you remember last council meeting, we established a committee to research walkable places. There was a proposal on the agenda to consider a new issue of walkable places, and the WAMPO decided to defer that until the end of the year to see if there's any money left over. So there's not going to be any more money for walkable places as of right now. Okay, just to kind of make sure everybody's on the same page about that. Also, the Woodlawn Advisory Committee, is that the correct term for it? We met this afternoon, and I won't steal Miss Ann Stevens' thunder, because I know she has some work to do as to what we resolved about that, but we did narrow the search down to 3 groups that we will be interviewing. So anyway, okay, thank you.
Councilmember Hawes.
I have no formal report.
Thank you. And I have no formal report, but just want to let everybody know that this weekend is our neighborhood yard sales. So be extra cautious, and if you're outside the city, come in town and spend money. But we welcome it for that, and that just so people know you can have. This is something that we've been doing for a number of years, and so there's no permit fee for that. You can have your yard sale, and I've already personally seen some neighbors getting stuff together. So we just ask that people be extra cautious when out and about this weekend, looking for extra traffic as people go and find treasures out there. I already mentioned the Facebook Live, and appreciate that being another option. And heard Mr. Cook mentioned earlier too about the communication, and that's something I want to address real quickly too. That anybody here in the audience watching at home to know that we have an app that's downloadable on Android and Apple. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter. It's in addition to the traditional print media. You can request to be set up on email list from the city if you'd like to be notified of meetings, and all of our agendas of meetings are put out on social media as well. So these are all things that we are doing to try to better communicate, especially as we move further and further into this 21st century, to use all means available. But would encourage anybody has a question at any time to speak to a council member, call City Hall. We'd be happy to we want to make sure we're continually improving communication with everybody out there, so that, and lastly, I do want to just address the two things that came up during citizens' concerns here. We heard there's been a lot of committee meetings and negotiations, and I too feel that we're pretty close to doing something that's going to be right for everybody, and appreciate everybody who's weighed in on this, who's given input to this. I want to assure everybody in Elk Creek and everybody in Bel Aire that the absolute last thing that any of us up here want to do is lower anyone's home value. And that's not what we're going to do. I want to have as nice and as big and as expensive as a home that's sellable built there, okay? So we're going to continue to work on that, and we're going to continue that negotiation. These negotiations have actually been going on since November. So we're getting to the point, our goal, as we said, is to get these homes, get these lots on the MLS listing. They're sitting there right now, not doing anybody any good. So that's our goal, is to come together and come up with a solution for that. And it will be a good compromise for, especially, for Elk Creek residents as well as all of our Bel Aire residents. I want to do that. Heard earlier that maybe the city shouldn't have taken back these lots when they were offered to us. I just want to let everybody know that had the city not done that when the original developer went bankrupt, those 9 lots would have gone to a sheriff's sale and would have been sold off possibly at a penny a piece to somebody with a lot more lawyer and maybe a lot more money than the city has to fight whatever, to build whatever. We did that in good faith. And we're going to continue to work with that. Last thing we wanted was for those to go to a sheriff's sale and have the city lose out on all of those specials. So again, appreciate all the comments. We look forward to, we will have an executive session this evening, and we will continue the negotiations, and hopefully, the way I understand it, at our next meeting, we'll have a resolution for this. So again, apologize for going on that during the report session, but I did just want to kind of address a couple of those things and let you know that you are heard, and engaged citizenship is very much appreciated. We really appreciate you guys. Obviously, this is something that you guys care about and are concerned with, and we appreciate you letting us know. With that, I'm going to continue on with reports and move us on to the city attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm happy to report that last year we had 260 people set for court in June. This year we have 188 people set for court. The clerk, the city prosecutor, and myself and the police chief have worked together to make the court process more efficient for citizens. We are seeing the fruit of that. To let citizens know, the officers are working to explain to people that on certain infractions, a citizen can pay that infraction, and anybody who gets a ticket can pay that infraction in lieu of coming to court if they get it taken care of before their court date. And that word is spreading more, and we're seeing more people come in off docket, as I like to say. Speeding tickets can be amended by the clerk. We have a certain list of requirements that if the ticket meets these standard requirements, the ticket can be amended. We also have certain offers that we can make on expired tag violations, drivers, a no DL in possession, no driver's license in possession ticket, or a no insurance violation, that allow the clerk and the prosecutor to sometimes process that more quickly than requiring the person to come to court. So we're seeing the docket get lighter. The judge is very efficient, and I would just advise people who get tickets to just call the clerk and see if you can work with her before coming to court. Payments can be made in the office, through mail, sometimes over the phone, and those are the options available. And Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Move on to our city manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to follow up on your announcement on citywide garage sales that are this week. Unfortunately, if everything doesn't sell and you don't want to take it to the Salvation Army or some other nonprofit, the city provides a curbside cleanup that will be July 14th. So that's a Saturday, and we'll be getting more information out, but you can put things at the curb and they will come by and pick those up. So there are certain requirements as far as furniture. I think furniture is fine, but something that has Freon, I think there's some special requirements. But we'll get information out so everybody will know what's accepted and what's not. Another thing I want to mention is the K254 Corridor Association is holding a second meeting tomorrow at 1 in El Dorado, and this is something that council's been supporting, the idea of putting together a coalition of all the cities that run along to K254 to provide a larger voice to the legislatures on improvements and things that can be made related to safety and economic development. So this meeting tomorrow will be basically to discuss bylaws, memberships, dues, and all those kind of things to get that association moving forward. Last thing I want to mention is I wanted to congratulate our Finance Director, Ted Henry, for receiving the Government Finance Officers Association Distinguished Budget Presentation for 2018. So this is the 4th year in a row, and that is an award that's only given out to a few cities in Kansas. Wichita, of course, is one, Sedgwick County, but mostly smaller cities do not do the things that are required to do this. So I appreciate what he does. It's all about involving citizens, transparency, and those types of things. So it's a great award, especially in the finance world. So we appreciate that. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. We actually have a very short agenda this evening. Just 2 items on it. So let's get after it here. Ordinances, resolutions, and final actions. The first item here is the final plat for the Hermitage Edition. The Catholic Diocese of Wichita is adding 10 cabins next to the Catholic Life Center. These are going to be used for solitary time, meditation, quiet time. For that, each unit is going to be approximately 500 square feet with a small bathroom. There's going to be a bedroom and living area. The item was tabled at our May 15th meeting for additional review and action on the final plat by the Planning Commission. So that item was heard at the Planning Commission meeting June 14th, so just earlier or last week, and they approved it unanimously 4-0. It's now before the City Council for final approval.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I make a motion to approve the final plat for the Hermitage Edition and authorize the required signatures.
Second.
First and second, are there any questions or comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, our next item is requesting the Planning Commission review the city codes related to home-based businesses. I'll tell you, our Planning Commission has been busy these last few months with a lot of different items coming before them. But the council discussed the process of licensing home-based businesses at a workshop a couple of months ago. There was a thought that this process could be less burdensome to encourage more businesses in Bel Aire. The action was on the agenda, formally request that the Planning Commission review city codes related to home-based businesses and bring back suggestions for council to consider. So we have that officially on our agenda.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I move to request the Bel Aire Planning Commission review city codes related to home-based businesses and return with recommendations to improve the process.
Second.
First and second, questions or comments?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
what kind of suggestions are you both looking for?
I think the main discussion, correct me if I'm wrong, was around just the generalization of the cost associated, especially with all the notification and everything, so that when businesses are home-based businesses, you know, they need to be licensed through the city, that way they have their insurance and all that. But there were, we'd heard from a couple of home-based businesses that seemed like there were maybe is a little, we're trying to lessen the red tape. Is that a good way of putting it? We're trying to lessen,
On the forms or the cost?
the way I understood it was both. Am I correct?
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, so
Yeah,
please.
my thoughts there were that right now, if you're going to conduct any sort of business of any kind in Bel Aire, you need a special use permit for your permanent address where you live. We've had a couple of those items on our agenda, and the way that I look and read it, our current city process and city ordinances and regulations, if you're doing absolutely anything out of your home, even if there's nobody that ever visits your home, if you don't have a sign at your home, if you don't park any commercial vehicles in your property, you still need to go through this very lengthy and very expensive process in order to legally do business in Bel Aire. That could be somebody that gives a piano lesson, you know, to a kid in their neighborhood, or it could be, you know, maybe even the teenager that you're paying next door to mow your lawn. The way that I'm looking at our current policies, they would need to have a business license and they would need to have a special use permit for the property where they're operating that business out of. And so right now our restrictions are really broad, and I think there's a lot of opportunity to provide some exemptions for businesses that wouldn't have any impact on your neighborhood.
So you're, Mr. Mayor, so you want them to reduce the cost of business license? Because I don't think there's anything in the planning commission that says that a 15 or 16-year-old kid next door to me can't mow.
Yeah, I think we're basically officially asking that the motion before us tonight is to officially ask the planning commission to take a look at these and then make some recommendations back to us. So I don't know if we're necessarily up here making recommendations to them. We've just asked that they take a look at it, hearing some of the concerns that we've heard. Anybody else want to chime in on that? Am I?
Yeah, Councilman Smith, I basically want to echo what he said. The issue is the vague wording of the ordinances that we have in regards to businesses, and the nature of businesses that don't have you know, infrastructure or customers coming to a home. You know, first of all, it's the issue of a residential home that has a home-based business. That's the main concern. And if it's something where somebody is just in their home, maybe using the internet or the phone to conduct business that isn't bringing customers into the neighborhood, or people parking cars, or something that has basically no overhead, I think that the language of the ordinances currently encapsulate all those businesses. And I think if someone is having a home-based type business, that the forms and fees and all that associated, I don't think that should be required of someone that's doing just a simple. I think that discourages business and doesn't encourage business.
Any other questions or comments? Again, the motion before us is to request the Bel Aire Planning Commission review city codes relating to home-based businesses and return with recommendations to improve the process. Has been first and seconded. I'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Discussion and future issues. I don't have any specifically. City attorney or city manager? With that, then I would ask for a motion to go into executive session for the sole purpose of consulting with attorney on legal considerations of proposed development agreements and negotiations pursuant to the KSA 75-4319 exception for attorney-client privilege, and inviting the city manager and the city attorney. I believe the meeting will be for the period of 30 minutes, and we'll open the meeting will resume in chambers at then at 8:04.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
May I clarify something? With regards to this session tonight, there's no more public discussion. It's all executive committee. There's no actions being taken this evening outside of executive.
We're not taking action tonight, no.
One other question, and I don't know the basis for this. If the city ultimately decides to list those properties on MLS, is there a requirement that a buyer pay all of the specials taxes going clear back, or I guess I'm just not clear on that point.
Yeah,
Mr. Mayor, I have to ask that he can submit that question to staff.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, for time being, but yeah, we're not taking action tonight. That's
Okay,
the
thank you.
the request of the council. But I would entertain that motion.
So moved, but I think you might need to modify the time.
Yeah. There's a second, we'll modify that to 8:06. First and second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Executive session at 8:06.